Get out of my store. You people always come here causing trouble. The words hit like a slap in the face. Malik froze, the pair of sneakers still cradled in his hands. He blinked slowly, unsure if he'd heard Kyle correctly. The manager didn't stop. He stormed toward Malik, snatched the shoes from his grip, and sneered, "Don't touch what you can't afford." Malik's mouth parted slightly. "Excuse me?" By now, heads were turning. A few customers glanced up from the racks, drawn in by the volume, by the violence in Kyle's tone. I said leave. "Now," Kyle barked, "before I call security." Malik stayed still. His body was rigid, his heart racing. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was deliberate, aggressive. Personal dot around him, silence formed a bubble. Nobody intervened. No one asked questions. Malik's breath caught in his throat as shame crept up his spine. The humiliation was raw, suddenly, unprovoked. And still, Kyle kept going, loud enough for everyone to hear. Loud enough to make sure Malik felt small. Malik slowly pulled his wallet from his pocket, holding out his credit card. "I haven't done anything. I just wanted to buy some shoes." His voice was shaky, controlled. Years of experience taught him never to raise it, especially in places like this. Kyle looked at the card but didn't reach for it. "You don't belong here. Take your scam somewhere else." That word belong hit harder than the accusation. Malik's eyes flickered with disbelief. "Sir, I work at a school. I can show you my ID." Kyle turned away with a dismissive scoff. "Save it. I've seen your type." Murmurs rippled through the room. Some customers started whispering. One young woman looked uncomfortable. Another quietly took out her phone. Malik stood there, holding out his card, his other hand clenched tightly at his side. His hands began to shake, not from fear, but from the effort it took not to lose control. The room stayed frozen. A man in a hoodie shifted uncomfortably, but kept his head down. A teenage girl held her phone low, recording discreetly. A mother tugged her young son toward the door, muttering, "Let's not get involved." The silence was deafening. It didn't matter that people watched. What mattered was that no one did anything. Malik could feel the eyes. Not on Kyle, but on him. Like he was the problem. His isolation settled in like cold water. No allies. No support. Just quiet judgment and fear-fueled avoidance. And Kyle? He seemed to thrive in it. Kyle crossed his arms. "You think flashing a card makes you legit? Please, you people always have some kind of scam." Malik felt something shift inside. A familiar fire. Controlled, contained, but burning. "Isn't a scam," Malik said, keeping his tone level. "I just wanted to buy shoes, that's all." Kyle laughed. "Yeah, and I'm the mayor. What's the angle? Steal them and flip them online? Seen it 100 times. That was it. The line. The assumption. Not just of theft, but of worthlessness. That Malik's presence was already criminal. He thought about the kids he mentored. The lessons he taught them about composure, about being the better man. He thought about his mother, how she warned him that being right wouldn't always keep him safe. But this wasn't just about safety. It was about dignity being peeled away in real time, in front of strangers. One stereotype at a time. In the back corner of the store, someone stirred. A woman in a dark hoodie slowly lowered her sunglasses. Her expression was unreadable, but her gaze was sharp, focused. She'd been listening the entire time. A couple near her noticed, whispering to each other. Recognition sparked like a lit match, but Kyle hadn't seen her yet. His back was still. To her, his voice still sharp, still loud, still wrong. She stepped forward silent, deliberate. The crowd began to shift, sensing something was changing. "You need to stop right now." Serena's voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It sliced through the tension, like glass shattering in silence. Heads turned. Phones lifted. Kyle froze mid-sentence. His eyes locked with hers, and in a flash, the arrogance on his face faltered. Malik looked up, confused at first. Then I was stunned. She wasn't yelling. She didn't have to. The weight of her presence alone shifted the air in the room. For the first time since the confrontation began, Kyle had no comeback, only a flicker of fear behind his forced smirk. And Malik? He just stared, unsure if justice had just walked through the door, or if this was just another pause before another blow. I'm scared, Mr. Carter. We might lose our apartment tonight. Malik nodded gently, resting his elbows on the chip desk between them. He had heard versions of this story too many times, but it never got easier. Do you have somewhere you can go if that happens? He asked, voice soft but steady. The teen hesitated. Maybe my aunt, but she already got 5 kids. Malik opened his drawer, pulling out a folded food voucher and a pamphlet for emergency housing. I'm going to call someone from the shelter. You don't have to figure this out alone, okay? The student nodded, blinking back tears. As the door closed behind him, Malik exhaled slowly. Another crisis. Another kid drowning in a system stacked against them. His office was cramped. Cracked ceiling tile above, faded posters behind. He didn't care about the mess. What mattered were the voices that walked in, and the ones he refused to let fall through the cracks. He looked at the clock. Lunch break. For once, maybe he'd use it for himself. Malik, when's the last time you bought something for yourself? Miss Perez asked from the doorway, arms crossed. He shrugged. You mean like a Snickers bar? I mean, like something you actually want. It's your birthday, isn't it? He paused, surprised. Oh, yeah, it is. She smirked. See? You didn't even remember. Go. Get something that doesn't come with guilt or receipts for someone else. That conversation stayed with him. Later that day, he finally pulled up that bookmarked page. Those designer sneakers. He had passed the store window a dozen times, always walking by, but today felt different. Not indulgent necessary. A small rebellion against a world that constantly told him to stay in the background. Malik remembered watching his mother walk into her second job, tired but composed. A waitress by day, hospital janitor by night. She'd squeeze his shoulder and say, don't give them an excuse. Just keep your head up and finish first. He did. Straight A's. Debate team. Track captain. Still, he remembered the way teachers would double-check his work, as if intelligence needed to be verified. Did you really write this essay yourself? One teacher once asked. It just seems ... advanced. That moment stung. More than any failing grade ever could. He learned early that success didn't protect him from suspicion. That composure had to be armor. That silence was often safer than truth. But he never forgot her lessons. How to resist with excellence. How to walk into any room like he belonged. Because he did, whether they liked it or not. He carried that. Every day. Into every meeting, every hallway, every kid he tried to protect from the same shadows. He turned up the volume on the old soul playlist as he merged onto Crenshaw. His mother's favorite Donny Hathaway, humming something soft and wise. The sun was bright. The city felt gentle for once, as if giving him permission to breathe. He pulled into the parking garage near the high-end boutique, adjusted his tie, checked his reflection, straightened his collar. It wasn't about looking fancy. It was about walking into a place that wasn't. Built for him and refusing to shrink. Today was supposed to be simple. Buy the shoes. Go home. Smile at the mirror for once. He stepped out of the car, unaware that his dignity was about to be tested in the most public way possible. Excuse me, do you have the Vapor Max 2 South in size 11? Malik asked, glancing toward the front counter. Kyle didn't respond. No eye contact. Not even a nod. A white couple stepped through the entrance just behind Malik. Kyle's face lit. Up. Welcome in, folks. Let me know if you need anything. We just restocked some exclusives. Malik's eyebrows knit slightly. He waited, then cleared his throat. Hi again. I'm looking for the limited Vapor Max. Still nothing. Just a bored glance. Then Kyle turned and walked off to tidy a nearby shelf. Malik stood still for a moment, letting the discomfort settle. It wasn't loud. It wasn't obvious. But it was deliberate. He took a slow breath. Don't react. That was the voice in his head. Not here. Not for this. This wasn't his first time navigating racial bias, but that didn't make it easier. It just made him quieter. A white teenager with messy blonde hair stepped up beside Malik, pointing to the same shelf. Yo, y'all got the new Max Runners in a 10? Kyle beamed. Absolutely, sir. Let me check the back for you. Within seconds, Kyle disappeared into the stockroom. Malik said nothing. Just watched. Observed. His jaw tightened, not from surprise, but from recognition. The teen turned to Malik. Man, these things are impossible to find. You waiting on a pair too? Malik smiled faintly, trying to. The teen nodded and scrolled. On his phone, oblivious to the weight Malik carried. This wasn't new. It was just another unspoken rule of the retail world. Who gets seen and who gets sidelined. Lena, a young associate near the accessories wall, had been watching the whole time. She walked over quietly. Hi there. Are you looking for a new drop? Malik turned, surprised. Yeah, size 11 if it's in stock. I got you. Hold on a sec. Within moments, she returned with a pristine box in hand. She smiled and held it out. We had one left. You're lucky. Malik's posture softened. Thanks. I appreciate you stepping in. From across the floor, Kyle emerged from the back just in time to see the exchange. His expression darkened, eyes narrowing as Lena handed over the shoes. She noticed him. Her smile faded just slightly, but she stood her ground. Malik caught the glance, the shift in air. He could already feel it coming. Malik moved toward the register, shoes tucked under one arm, card in hand. He was 10 feet away when Kyle stepped directly into his path. Where are you going with those? Kyle asked, voice low but sharp. Malik blinked. I'm going to pay for them? Kyle looked him up and down. Did someone approve that for you? Malik tilted his head. She did. He motioned back to Lina, who was busy helping another customer. Kyle didn't budge. Just making sure. We've had issues before. The tone was different now. Less dismissive, more calculated. Like a trap had just been set, and Malik had walked straight into it. Is there a problem? Malik asked, voice calm but heavy. Kyle shrugged. Not yet. Malik gripped the card tighter. He wasn't going to raise his voice. He wasn't going to play into the script Kyle clearly wanted. But something had shifted. The subtle racism that started as cold shoulders had just evolved into confrontation. It was no longer quiet. It was weaponized, and everyone nearby had started to notice. This card's fake. Kyle didn't just say it, he announced it. Loud. Clear. Designed to cut. Malik's hand froze mid-air. The credit card he extended hovered between them like a fragile truth about to be shattered. I'm sorry? Malik asked, calm but stunned. Kyle pushed the card back across the counter with 2 fingers, like it was contaminated. You heard me. We don't take knockoff cards here. The volume turned heads. A mother standing nearby pulled her daughter. Close. A teenage boy near the sneaker wall lifted his phone. Malik blinked slowly. That's a valid card. Why would you say that? Kyle stepped back, raising his voice another notch. Because we've had people like you try this before. The room shifted. Conversations paused. Eyes began to turn. Malik could feel the attention wrap around him, tight and suffocating. "I'm just trying to pay," he said, his voice firm but low. Kyle leaned forward, eyes narrow. "You want me to call security? Because I will." Malik's fingers curled into a fist beside his leg. Every instinct told him to walk away, but pride, dignity, the years of silence. They wouldn't let him. He took a breath, steady and full. "Of restraint? I have my ID," Malik said quietly, pulling his wallet from his back pocket. Kyle rolled his eyes. Malik laid out his driver's license, then gently slid over his school badge. "I'm a high school counselor. This is my card. I can even log into my bank if you need me to." Kyle scoffed. "That's what they all say." Malik stared at him. "They? You're not fooling anyone, man. Trying to look legit. This happens all the time," Kyle muttered, waving off the documents without even glancing at them. It didn't matter what proof Malik showed. The decision had already been made. A quiet despair settled in Malik's chest, not because he was being accused, but because there was no way to not be accused. No tone he could take, no evidence he could provide. His truth had no weight here. "I just want to pay and leave," Malik said. Kyle folded his arms. "You're not leaving with those shoes." The more Malik tried to de-escalate, the deeper. Kyle dug in. Logic had no place here, only assumption, only power, only prejudice pretending to be policy. Kyle raised an eyebrow and smirked. "Let me guess ... flipping these on eBay for double?" He said it loud enough for the entire store to hear. Malik didn't move. "You people always have some kind of hustle," Kyle continued, his tone dripping with contempt. "You think walking in with a card and a smile changes that?" Gasps murmured through the room. One shopper stepped back. Another whispered to their friend. Malik looked at the floor, trying to suppress the heat building in his chest. But the fire was there. Not just from this moment, but from every moment like this. Every time he was followed. Through stores. Every side-eye. Every silent accusation with no words, but all the weight. He looked up again. Steady. "You don't know anything about me." Kyle laughed a dry, ugly sound. "I know enough." Malik's hands trembled slightly. Not from fear, but from restraint. "You don't know where I come from," he said. "You don't know what I do, what I give, what I've been through. To walk into a store and try to buy something without being treated like a criminal." "You're not entitled to anything here," Kyle said, stepping closer. "Don't act like you are." Malik didn't respond. Because if he did, if he let go of that control for even a second, he might say something he couldn't take back. And in places like this, being right never protects you. He didn't do anything wrong. The voice came from behind the register. "Lena." She stepped forward, her voice shaky but firm. "I helped him. I gave him the shoes. He didn't do anything." Kyle snapped around. "You're just a trainee. Stay out of it." "He asked for help. You ignored him." "I saw," I said. "Stay out of it." Kyle snapped again. Louder this time. Lena froze. Her shoulders dropped. The courage she had built just moments ago collapsed under the weight of Kyle's authority. She looked at Malik, mouthing a silent, "I'm sorry," before stepping back. The brief flicker of support disappeared just as quickly as it came. Malik was alone again, surrounded, scrutinized, and stripped of every ounce of control. The air turned heavy, like the walls themselves had picked sides. Kyle picked up the store phone. "Yeah, I've got a situation. Possible credit card fraud. Aggressive behavior." Malik closed his eyes for a second. 2 mall security guards entered within minutes. They didn't ask questions. Didn't look at Kyle. Didn't ask Malik what happened. They just walked toward him. Double quote, "Sir, I need you to step aside." Malik raised both hands slightly. I haven't done anything. One of the guards reached for his arm. Malik stayed still, the humiliation rising like acid in his throat. He had been here before, but never this visible, never this surrounded. Let him go. The words landed like thunder. Serena's voice didn't waver. It didn't rise. It didn't need to. The guards froze. Phones turned toward her. Gasps rippled through the crowd as people realized who was speaking. Kyle blinked, stunned into silence. Color drained from his face. Malik turned slowly, his confusion shifting to awe. He knew that voice. Everyone did. Serena stood calm, her gaze locked on the guards. I saw everything, she said. Every word, every move. The room held its breath, not just because a celebrity had spoken, but because someone finally had. Do you even know who this man is? Kyle turned at the sound of Serena's voice, trying to mask his surprise. Ma'am, this doesn't concern. Serena cut him off with a glare sharp enough to silence the room. Clearly it does. Because you're standing here accusing someone of theft when you have no idea who he is or what he stands for. Kyle blinked, confused. He's not. Wait, is he someone famous? She stepped forward. No, he's more than that. He's a man who shows up for kids who feel forgotten. He's a high school counselor in South L.A. He mentors boys who've lost their fathers. He feeds students out of his own pocket. The murmurs in the store shifted. What had been curiosity now turned into unease. The kind that comes when a lie begins to unravel in public. Serena continued, unwavering. While you sit here flexing your authority, this man is building futures. So the real question is, who are you to question him? Kyle opened his mouth, but no sound followed. Around them, the energy changed. The customers weren't just watching now. They were judging Dot and Kyle. For the first time, felt outnumbered. Serena raised her phone. Everything you said? I recorded it. Kyle's face twisted. You can't. I already did. She tapped a few buttons and turned the screen toward him. The video played his voice, his accusations, the mockery. It was all there. Then she tapped upload. This, she said, is what racism looks like in Beverly Hills. Within seconds, her feed exploded. Comments, shares, likes pouring in like floodwater. Wow, this is heartbreaking. Tag the store. Let's make sure this doesn't get buried. Another black man humiliated in public. When will it stop? Kyle stepped back, rattled. That's not fair. You don't know the whole... I watched the whole thing, Serena replied calmly. And now, so will millions. Customers began pulling out their own phones. Some were already live streaming. Screens buzzed with incoming alerts. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. The story had gone viral in real time. Kyle's confidence crumbled. This wasn't just a bad look. It was a moment being archived for the internet, for history. He looked around and realized the power had shifted. He was no longer in control of the narrative. He's done this before. All eyes turned to Lena, who stood by the counter, hands shaking but voice clear. This isn't the first time, she said louder. He profiles customers, black and brown especially. I've seen him follow them, deny service, lie about inventory. Kyle spun around. Lena, don't... I am speaking, she said louder now. We've reported it. HR swept it under the rug. Every time. The room pulsed with tension. A middle-aged man near the sneaker wall nodded slowly. I've seen him act weird before. Thought it was just me. Another customer muttered. This is embarrassing. Kyle tried to defend himself. She's making it up. She's barely been here a month. Long enough to see who you really are, Lena snapped. And just like that, the balance tipped. It wasn't just Serena. It wasn't just Malik. Now the store itself was turning against its own manager. The truth had momentum, and Kyle couldn't outrun it. One of the guards looked at Serena, then glanced back at Malik. He took a step back. "We're good here," he muttered. The second guard followed without a word. Hands off, retreating without apology. Malik exhaled slowly and lowered his hands. The burning in his chest began to cool. Someone in the back murmured, "They always go after the wrong guy." For once, the spotlight wasn't on the accused, but on the accuser. And no badge or title could shield Kyle from the truth that had just been made public. Malik turned to Serena. The storm was still around them, phones still recording, whispers still buzzing. But in that moment, all he saw was her. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For seeing me." She nodded. "We see each other? No spotlight, no dramatics. Just one person acknowledging another, with empathy instead of judgment." And in that stillness, Malik felt something return, not just dignity, but presence. A quiet strength that hadn't been taken, but momentarily buried. The moment wasn't over. The story wasn't done. But for the first time, he wasn't facing it alone. Effective immediately, the employee in question has been suspended pending investigation. That line in bold sat in the middle of the official statement. The viral video had exploded overnight. It wasn't just trending, it was everywhere. Morning news, late-night commentary, podcasts. Headlines read, "Serena Williams calls out racism in luxury. Store incident, high school counselor profiled while shopping. Public outrage grows." The company's damage control team scrambled. "We do not tolerate discrimination of any kind," their statement read. "We extend a formal apology to Malik Carter and Serena Williams." The response was carefully worded, strategically timed. It didn't feel personal, but it was pressure. It was a consequence. And in Malik's world, even that was rare. He read it once, then again. It didn't erase what happened, but it was the first time anyone beyond Serena had said, "You were right, and it mattered. Let's not let this die on the timeline," Serena said. Malik nodded. "I don't want a trending hashtag. I want real change." Together, they launched something simple but powerful. Profiling in plain sight, a community conversation. Held in a local rec center and streamed online, it drew hundreds in person. And thousands virtually. Victims of retail discrimination shared stories long buried. A woman recalled being followed through aisles. A man talked about being asked for ID, while his white friend wasn't. Lena stood tall and admitted her silence in the past, and her decision to finally speak up. "No more whispering behind closed doors," she said. "We say it out loud now." The event wasn't about Malik anymore. It had become something larger, a spark, a blueprint for others. The comment sections were flooded with people saying, "This happened to me." And finally, "Now I know I wasn't alone." 2 weeks later, Lena received a call from HR. They were transferring her to a new store. This time, as assistant manager. "Your integrity didn't go unnoticed," the voice said. Malik, meanwhile, was booked for high school assemblies, university town halls, non-profit panels. Everywhere he went, people listened, not because he was a victim, but because he had turned the moment into a movement. Kyle? He disappeared from the company quietly. No grand statement. Just one line in an internal memo. Employment terminated. It didn't need fireworks. The silence was loud enough. Educators began using the incident in diversity training. Activists cited it as a case study. Justice hadn't just come in words. It came in outcomes. Malik walked past the same storefront. This time, in a blazer. Chin up. No tension in his stride. In his hand. A single flyer. He pinned it to a corkboard outside. The shop next to a tutoring flyer and a lost dog notice. The words were simple. Respect is not optional. A non-profit for racial equity in retail spaces workshops. Training. Community defense. A soft smile formed. He didn't need the shoes anymore. He had built something far more powerful. And this time, no one could take it from him. Have you ever experienced or witnessed something like this? What would you have done if you were Serena? Or if you were Malik? The question hangs. Not just to be heard, but to be answered. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your story might be the one someone else needed to hear. Together, we turn awareness into action, one voice at a time. Like, share, and subscribe for more real-world stories that matter. Turn on notifications so you never miss a moment that sparks change. This isn't just a story. It's a movement. Respect is not optional.